yourself, your educational background, and your former positions before becoming the Zimbabwean ambassador to Sweden.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm a journalist, actually. I started as being a journalist. And then I worked in civic society for a very, very long time. I remain a feminist from the women's movement. And so I spent most of my time in the women's movement. Then I transitioned into politics. So I've been a member of parliament. I was a member of parliament for 21 years. So I literally left parliament to come straight into the diplomatic way, which was an interesting transition, because politicians are usually not diplomats. But I transitioned from there into diplomacy. And I'm a lawyer by profession. So yeah, that's basically my background from where I come from.
I see you're trying to be humble. But being a lawyer from your own background, how easy or difficult was it for a woman going into a profession and then ending up becoming a government official?
Well, like I said, I actually started by going into civic society and then transitioned into the legal profession. I had to study law while I was still a politician. But like my beginning was actually as a journalist. Okay. So I got trained first as a journalist before I got trained as a lawyer, before I became a lawyer. Not easy, but fascinating and interesting. I love my job. I love it so much. And I think that's the first thing that makes things easier for somebody. You have to be passionate about the job. You have to love it. I have massive support from my government, from my appointing authority, from the president, and I think it makes life much easier. So even if you may have some challenges, I think those challenges pale into insignificance if you do have the support of your minister, the support of your president, the support of your people back home, the support of people that you work with. So I found the diplomatic work very exciting, challenging, yes, but I think it allows me the space to dream. It allows me the space to innovate. And I'm stationed in a region that is very facilitative for women's empowerment and women's work. So it's an area in which I'm able to thrive. And like I said, yes, there are challenges, but I love the job. And so the challenges, you don't see them that much because the job is really good and it's inspiring.
I want to ask this question because we are coming from Africa. Is Zimbabwe a matriarchal society? Is Zimbabwe a matriarchal society?
Very interesting, and we'll need another interview, Victor, on this, because I told you I'm a feminist,
yes.
But I'm an Afro-feminist.
Okay.
I don't believe in the feminism as defined in Europe. I believe in feminism as defined and rooted in African culture. And my belief is that the African culture has always been more feminist than the European culture. What we now call culture and patriarchal culture for Africa is actually a bastardization of our culture. Our culture is very supportive of women. Our culture does not allow for a man to beat a woman or to be abusive. You will know that even if you were to go back to your own culture, your mother was seen, if you did anything to your mother, even from a spiritual point of view, you would be told that things would never work for you. You can be nasty to your dad, actually, and you can survive it in our culture. But your mother, your wife, your sister, you have a special role. So yes, we now have problems because we now have a mixture of the white colonialists that came to Africa. And when they came to Africa, they changed our cultures and created a new culture. Unfortunately, what they changed is what we now call the African culture. And yes, that African culture, that is a today culture, which is a bastardization of our culture, is very patriarchal. It has created systems that are not facilitative of women. But I must say that for Zimbabwe, we have seen massive changes. Our constitution, is very facilitative of women's empowerment. Our laws are very facilitative. Our president has gone out of his way, even where elections have not necessarily brought in a lot of women. He himself, because he has the power to appoint. He has appointed women in ministerial positions, women as attorney generals, women as prosecutor generals, women as in the judiciary. So if you were to do a mapping of what has happened in the last 7 or 8 years of the Second Republic, the one thing that comes out clearly is a commitment by the head of state to open up doors and to create facilities and opportunities for women, to such an extent that if you were to go to our universities now, you have more young women graduating than you do have males, because we have come up with a system, a quota system, that facilitates for the entrance of women, particularly in areas of science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So your doctors, you have more female doctors that are now in, you have more female engineers that have come in, you have more female women that are working in areas that have largely been dominated by males. Even the legal profession itself, you have more lawyers now than you have, more women lawyers than you have men. So it's really been tremendous. We have really moved in a big way, but largely because of the political will in the country.
This is the reason why I asked if Zimbabwe is a matriarchal society, because a lot of people have told me the inroads women are making in this country, that women are winning actually. And you made mention at the last meeting we met at the Women's Day event that there is an affirmative action towards women going into science and technology. How deep into this affirmative action is the government? Is it like you said, is a quota system? Is this quota system deeply rooted, or is it just via appointment?
No, it's actually deeply rooted. Like I'm saying, there is actually a policy at tertiary universities, because people do get there after they've had their secondary education. And what used to happen is, because at primary or secondary level, girls would always choose the social sciences and would feel challenged going into areas, what we call the STEM areas. But with the coming in of the Second Republic, there has been a concerted effort to make sure that even if the points, the grades that a young girl has is lower for her to enter some of these STEMs, they would still be facilitated to go in it. So let's assume you have a boy who has 15 units and you have a girl that has 9 units, and they are all asking to go into engineering. You may find that the boy with 15 may not get in until the quota for the girls has been coming. So it's a general policy that is in place. But like I said, some of the things also are dependent on the individual, the person who holds that office. For example, the president, and I've been giving you examples, he does not necessarily have to appoint an attorney general who is a woman, but he has chosen to. And not because he's doing a favor, but because they are there and they are very qualified. So if you come to Zimbabwe, the Prosecutor General is female, the Attorney General is female. Those that are heading some of these important institutions, like Zimbabwe Human Rights, is female. The Deputy Chief Justice is female. I mean, I could give you a whole lot of the spaces in which women have been put, and the diplomatic service is one such area. It doesn't matter in which area, in which countries he is. For example, I'm a woman, I cover 7 countries. I covered the 4 Scandinavians, I covered 3 Baltics. I'm in one of the most important countries that we prioritize in a big way. I can give you a whole lot of other women. Some of the women are in Rome, they cover multilateral stations. Some of them are in France, they cover multilateral stations. So I could give you a whole lot of women who have been appointed to these positions, because it's a position that has been taken by government that says we will. My cabinet right now has youngest people, and the young people who are ministers, extremely young. My whole deputy minister of foreign affairs must just be, I think she's under 30, or just over 30. And that's the general median that you'll find now in terms of people that are holding ministerial positions. So it's a whole transition, it's a whole change that has happened. So you may have a structure that was largely patriarchal, but because of the political will that is in the president, you have seen a complete shift, and I can't see anyone else coming and taking us back. Yeah.
So that means over and beyond this current presidency, there's going to be a continuity.
Oh, definitely. There will definitely be a continuity. And the good thing is that it's not just, yes, it's the political will of the individual, but at a structural legislative level that is done. So if you look at my constitution, for example, it actually stipulates that in every sphere, they should be 50% balance. So it's actually in the constitution. But, it takes political will to implement what is in the constitution.
Wow.
But I can't see another president coming in and taking back the kind of threads that, or the kind of movement that we already have and taking us back. I don't see that.
Tell us, what is the thrusts of the government? What are your focus?
The focus area, and like I said, I'm resident in Sweden, but I'm an ambassador of 7 countries.
7 countries.
So I cover the Scandinavians and I cover the Baltics. We have made a deliberate decision together, obviously, in consultation with my principal, on what is the competitive advantage that Zimbabwe has. The competitive advantage that Zimbabwe has is that, yes, we are a land-linked country. We don't call ourselves landlocked, because landlocked is trying to make it negative. We are a land-linked country. So we are at the center of our region, which is the SADC region. And because we're at the center, the issues to do with movement of people, which trade issues, which can't happen if you do not have 2 things. If you do not have technology and you do not have energy, which is electricity. Whether you are wanting to do your roads, whether you are wanting to do your industries, you need, at the basic of it, in today's world, you need to be at the center of technology, and you need to be at the center of issues of energy. And because of climate change issues, we also need to look at that energy in the context of renewable energy. So those are the 2 main things that is our focus. Of course, we deal with a whole lot of other things. We deal with health issues, we deal with tourists, We are going to be doing a lot of stuff to encourage people to go and visit Zimbabwe, because the one thing that we have seen is that people get to know a country through perceptions, through the media. And thankfully, you are giving us an opportunity as an African to let us speak and use our own voices to speak to what our countries are about. But otherwise, if you were to go into some of these mainstream international media, when they describe to you some of our countries, you sit there and you're like, are you really talking about my country, or are you talking about something else?
Yes.
So we want to do a lot of people going out there and coming and going to see what Zimbabwe is. But in terms of business. We are pushing for issues of technology, and we are pushing issues to do with renewable energy. We have a big advantage in that our population is made up of young people. So your mean average of our population is 35. So these are young people who are educated. Zimbabwe has the highest literacy rate in Africa. Very educated, very hardworking. So we've got young people that are constantly thinking and wanting to do things. So we want to provide for them, and technology is the best space in which these young minds can flourish and can do things. So we are looking at issues of technology and wanting to transfer the skills back home. It's a fast-moving train. Technology today, you are talking 5G. Tomorrow, you're talking something else. Right now, we're talking artificial intelligence, which changes the way we've been doing business. So we are wanting to make sure that we are at the cutting edge of technology. We are working on renewable energy, particularly from Sweden. You know that 98% of electricity, of energy in this country is renewable. It's either hydro or it's solar. And yet we never have the sun. But we do have solar parks here. We do have solar heating systems in this country. So you can imagine for Zimbabwe, where there is galore sun, there is galore wind. So we are wanting to take that technology from here and take it back home. Waste is one area. We have not been doing well around issues of waste management. But the reason why it is because, and you have lived here in Sweden, you know what I'm talking about. Every weekend you see people with big black bags who have a lot of your bottles and whatever going to the shopping place and exchanging those for coupons. So and I've always said the reason why we have no respect for waste in Africa is because we don't see the value in waste. Because I know that a bottle here, if I put 10 of them, I'll be able to buy my bread, I'll be able to buy my milk, I'll be able to buy my tomatoes. I can never look at the bottle, because when the bottle is on the floor, it is cash, it is money. So we want to change people's thinking and mentality to understand that you can make money out of waste, and that waste is actually money. It's not debt, it's not something you can throw off, because if you're going to if I gave you $1 today, you would not throw it on the floor because it's value. But the reason why people throw waste is because they have not understood that waste is actually a resource and that it is money. So we are working on that, and we are wanting to make sure that we do the transference of technology so that we can do it ourselves, because only in doing it ourselves can we create sustainability and continuity within our own countries.
Yeah, just to probe further into this, for an investor who's coming in to invest in the region, say from Zimbabwe, to reach the other SADC regions through Zimbabwe, what is the population they are looking at?
Well, like we are saying that, and thank you for raising that issue, because usually when you are talking Zimbabwe, you'll be talking, 14, 15, 18 million people. And somebody may think, the market is not so good. But if you do a collective of the SADC region, then you're talking hundreds of millions of people within the region. And the beauty about, this is why I said we are land-linked, the beauty about Zimbabwe is that if you set up in Zimbabwe, then all your tentacles are all over in the region. Because whether you're talking about South Africa, the gateway to South Africa is Zimbabwe. Gateway to in South Africa, gateway out of South Africa is in Zimbabwe. Whether you're talking about Mozambique, whether you're talking about Malawi, whether you're talking about Namibia, we literally are sitting at the center. So you find that even what we call the SADC power pool sits in Zimbabwe, because that's where you put in your whole infrastructure for bringing in your energy and for redistributing your energy. So yes, usually when we talk of Zimbabwe, we always want to talk about it within the context of the region, but within the context of Africa. That's why some of the events you have covered, you have found that I'm with my sister from Rwanda. Because the idea is we are not wanting to do a fashion show.
No.
When we are talking to the world, you are not wanting to say, oh, look at me, I have the best dress, I'm the prettiest, I'm the one. We are saying, look at me, come to me, I can facilitate for you to get the whole, because it doesn't work to have an island of excellence. If one country is doing amazingly well, yes, it is okay, but we are better off when we are all doing well. Yes. So the whole idea from both our elders who came up with the African Union, who came up with SADC, was to say we are better off as Africans when we are all okay, when we can feed our people, when we can, if one person is hungry in Zimbabwe and one person is okay in South Africa, it doesn't work. When one person is okay in Zimbabwe and one person is not okay in Rwanda, it doesn't work. We all need to create a situation where, that's where Europe has beat us. Each time you talk to somebody here, other than the Brexit issue, but for everybody who is here, it's always this country and the EU. This country and our EU Parliament, this country and our EU laws. And that's where we need to go as Africans. And that's what we're trying to do.
And then let's talk about the ease of entry. Say a pool of business investors want to come in. Is Zimbabwe or is the SADC region ready with facilitating free movement of their investments? Say if they want to make inroads from Zimbabwe, and then are the laws already put in place?
Oh yes, very much so. I'll tell you that at SADC level, we have standardized our customs unit, for example. So you'll find that the tariffs, most of the tariffs are the same. Our border systems are coordinated. In fact, we have a one-stop border post, which fortunately was one of the things that I did before I left government, because I was a minister of regional integration. And one project that I'm very proud about is the one-stop border post that is between ourselves and Zambia. If you go and see what has happened with the Bay Bridge border, which is the border that is used by most of your SADC countries. So yes, there is a lot of work around trade that has gone in to standardize tariffs, to open up our borders, to make sure that we don't create barriers, some of them real, some of them artificial, to facilitate the trading. Obviously, at the African Union, you then have the bigger thing about the African free trade area that we have just launched. But at the regional level, there's a lot of conversations. In fact, SADC speaks more, less of politics than it speaks more around business. And for your own information, Zimbabwe is going to be chairing SADC in August.
Wow.
So we are very excited, and these things that I'm talking to you about, the issues of food security, the issues of renewable energy, are one of the priority areas that we are going to be pushing for when we do chair SADC, which is coming in August.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, still on the investors, because these are some questions some of those business people always table around. It's the issue of return on investment and stability of the investment. Say, for instance, there's a government change. What kind of level of confidence do you give to these investors who will come in with their hard-earned cash to come and put down and plow into the economy?
Oh, thank you very much. And the first part is to say one of our biggest mantra from our president is Zimbabwe is open for business. And when you say Zimbabwe is open for business, it means it has to be made, it's ease of making business. So your coming into the country has to be made easier. Your setting up your business has to be made easier. We want to make sure that you can do it without being corrupted, because we need to be honest. One of the things that has been a challenge, not just for Zimbabwe but for most African countries, is the perception, some of it real, some of it exaggerated, that there's a lot of corruption. So that is being dealt with very, very seriously. We now have a one-stop border, one-stop shop, one-stop shop where you come in, you do all your licensing, you are assisted with your registration in one place. And in fact, we are trying to make sure that you can literally do that in 24 hours. Of course, we are still challenged a bit. It may take a little bit longer, but the ideal is that if you were to walk in Zimbabwe today and go to the development agency, Zimbabwe Development Agency, you go there and everything is done for you at that level. And the issue that you said is if there is a change of government, that is defined very clearly in our laws. Our laws are very clear. Our property rights laws are probably the best, because if you legally have what you have, it is yours. It will take a lot of work for anybody to come in and take that property away from you or demolish it. As long as it has been legally put up, if you've built a house or built a building and you've gone through the normal processes of making sure that that building is in place, it will stay. If there is something that is beyond a government and something has to be done, we also have processes of compensation for doing it. But what I know is generally we respect property rights in a big way. I know that there have always been perceptions around the issue of land reform, which we have gone out there and explained that that this was one of our biggest issues during the colonial times, the issue of land and making sure that the land goes back to the original owners. And that was the basis for why the liberation struggle was fought.